Welcome back, guys, and welcome back to Winter Wonders episode 2. So glad you made it. That means you obviously went through the first one, and if you're here, that means you're a real trooper, and for that, I appreciate you, and I hope we have a really good show for you today. So today's show is called Walk Through Winter Wednesday. So if you have been following along through my career journey or anything like that, you know that Winter Walk Through Wednesdays is my favorite day of the week. Long story short, every Wednesday I choose a home. These homes are sometimes listed by some of I wouldn't call them necessarily coworkers because we're all independent, but like some of the people that are from my same brokerage, and heck, I've even met some amazing people along the way that allow me to come kind of show off their house. But I choose a house every week. I go in there, and it kind of started off as like, hi, this is what I do, and then I would take them to the house, and I would say successfully since September we have done these videos. We haven't missed a week, so knock on wood, we've been doing really good with that. So every week has honestly changed, and we have grown and we have adapted, and each episode honestly kind of keeps getting better. So it's one of my favorite parts that I look forward to. It's truly something that I've seen other agents really do really well, but I'm happy the way that I've done it. It's awesome. But anyway, so let's dive straight into Winter Wednesdays and stuff like that. So my real estate journey, because that's honestly what this episode's gonna be about. So if you find real estate boring, I promise this episode will not have you leaving the exact same way, because real estate is crazy. I got some wild stories and some stuff to tell you, all the way from some of the craziest things I've seen in these houses, all the way to the fact that the test that you take that is preparing for your career almost has nothing to do with what you do on a daily basis. So to start off with, how to get certified. So here, I'll go ahead and just give you a short, quick, how to become a real estate agent in the state of Idaho on a 321 level. So number one, you have to be 18 years old, and of course, it's a certification within the state. So you go through a course. There are some in person, there's some online. I did mine online because I was teaching while I was still doing it. But you go through the course, and then after the course, and you've passed all the tests through the course, you go to the actual state of Idaho, and then you pass 2 tests. You got to pass a national one, and then you got to pass a state level, which those are 2 totally different tests depending on which state you're from. So for example, water rights in the state of Idaho are going to be totally different than water rights, honestly, anywhere else, right? So as much as you're studying for one test, you're also studying a whole different type of curriculum for another one. So I'm not going to say it was the most challenging thing I've ever done, but it was a news flash of wait a second. I have to know not only the national skills, but I also have to know the specific Idaho one. So that was a learning curve, and we made it through it. We passed both of those tests. So after you pass both of those tests, then you have to go get fingerprinted. Long story short, making sure the state of Idaho knows that you're a good person, you pay your taxes, so on and so forth, all that great stuff. But you go get your fingerprints, you send them off, you send all your paperwork, all that great stuff, and you wait to hear back from Idaho. And Idaho, after receiving all this paperwork, make sure that you have all your T's in a line. Also, there's a lot of more details. Not only you gotta have E&O insurance and a lot of other little random things, which I could do a whole episode on just getting started in the world of real estate by itself, because there's a lot of little hoops to jump through, which it makes sense, because if anything, it's not the fact that it makes sense. I'm glad that they have it, because I don't personally believe that anybody should be selling your house. It's a big purchase. We're talking big money, 30+ year loans. This is something that whoever gets into this and has your back, you want to make sure that they know their stuff. But yeah, so Idaho then will give you a license. Now here's the most backwards part of this job. You don't get hired, you hire a brokerage for yourself. So you go around, so there's really 2 majority of brokerages. You have either really, really big, even sometimes nationwide ones, and then you honestly have a little bit smaller ones, right? So I honestly, from watching all the YouTube videos and doing all the research I did, they said to go interview with both. Go to the big one, see how they run things, go to the small one, see how they run things, and each agent is going to be totally different when it comes to this. So you're going to have agents that prefer the big and all of that. You're going to have ones that prefer more of a team style. There's so many different avenues, and like I said, I might honestly just do a episode just to kind of break this down in case anybody would like it. So in the comments down below, we'll take a little ADHD break. If you are a current real estate agent who would like to know more, or if you're growing to be that, you're working through the license, if this is something you would like to listen into and kind of have that person who can walk you through the steps on how to get certified and all that, definitely just comment down below. I would love the support and kind of to see you, and I would love to honestly help y'all out in the long run, because it can be tricky with the little rules and all the laws that apply to making sure you're completely certified. Anywho, so then you go to these places, you find one that just matches your vibe, matches your style, because you got to remember you're running a business, right? So it's not just the fact of, can I be friends with this person? It's, does your business align together? Do you believe in the same morals and philosophies and so on and so forth? Because you want someone that you do work compatibly with. In other words, I work for Real Brokerage, and their hugest saying, is number one, we want to make real estate human, right? We want to make it as, it's not just a transaction. You're not just a number. You're not just a paycheck that I'm hoping to get from you in 2 months. You're a genuine human being that I'm going to do whatever it takes to put you in this dream home of yours, no matter if it takes showing you 2 houses or 200 houses, because that's my job. I am here to not only navigate you and help you through the home buying process, but I also go through all the adventures and taking you through okay, here's a negotiation. This is what an offer is. This is what the numbers is. This is what the current market is. So you want someone who you agree and you kind of align with on those. After that, whichever you feel like you align with, whichever one you believe is your next best big shot, you sign with them. So you hang your license per se. So basically y'all sign a contract saying, hey, I am going to go under you now, a broker. Right? That's a different person than a real estate person, right? So a broker is someone, they take another 90 hours worth of a course comparable to the first 90 that you had to take to get your real estate license, or at least in the state of Idaho. Every state's different. Anyways, so they have more knowledge and in-depth on specific laws, rules, regulations, and that's honestly for everyone's best interest. These laws aren't necessarily to keep real estate people in line or to keep this. It's honestly to keep things fair and to keep things where people are not taken advantage of, right? So most of the courses I've ever taken where they're talking about some of these lawsuits, it's simply hey, this neighbor, and they had this piece of property, and they were figuring out this, and if the real estate agent would have done one single extra step, it would have saved thousands upon thousands and dollars, as well as time in these court cases, right? So it's just being very aware of your job, being very knowledgeable, and using your skills wisely, and going through all the hoops, because no matter how fast you want to see that paycheck, you want to make sure. But there's sometimes in this world, and I think this is in every profession, there's good people, there's bad people. I'll bring up 3 examples. There's good doctors, there's bad doctors. There's good policemen, there's bad policemen. There's good teachers, there's bad teachers. There's good people, there's bad people. Welcome to the world. So these brokers know all of these rules and regulations just so that they can better implement and better help these new licensees. So you sign a contract and the broker's hey, I got your back. I'm going to take care of you. And not necessarily take care of you and do your job, but kind of be that buffer of hey, if you have a question, let me know. If you need something or so on and so forth, they're kind of your number one guy that you want to go to. So yes, a boss, but not in the per se, for example. So this is what I mean by you don't have a boss, or technically you do have a boss, you just are your boss. Now I am talking from the perspective of a solo agent. When it comes to teams can have more rules and certain meetings, so on and so forth. So when you go to do this research, make sure, if you are a new agent and you are using this video as some type of advice, make sure you ask all the questions in the world. It's still an interview process, but instead of them asking you questions, which still will happen, that's just a part of a business, talking, getting to know each other, but you're asking them these questions. Hey, how am I gonna grow? Anyways, I'm gonna save that for another episode. But anyways, so what I mean by my own boss. So for example, most people cannot require hours of you. With real estate, there are some hours where you need them in the office. I'm not even gonna lie. There's so much, which is crazy because, like, yes, paperwork has gotten so much easier and I'm so grateful for that. But as much as technology has increased, which has helped our overall amount of paperwork, the amount of technology and the social media platforms and so on and so forth has also increased. So even though you're not having to sit at a closing table for an hour and a half anymore, physically signing documents, you're now having to do more social media routes and finding stuff like that, because a lot of our clients, hi, hello, if you're listening to me on a podcast or even on YouTube, a lot of our clients honestly come from social media platforms. It's just that kind of adjusting and so on and so forth. So with that being said, you choose your own hours. So for me, I'm very, I'm a mean boss. I'm just gonna be honest with you because it's my podcast and you need to know who winner is. I'm very structured. And I guess the reason is because I have a guilty conscience. If I'm being quite honest, I love disc golf. It is such a hobby. I love it so very much. I literally drove past one today covered in snow and I had this just I want to go. Oh, by the way, if you were listening to that, I make weird sounds. You just got to check out the YouTube channel if you want to see all this craziness happening. But went past it, wanted to go. But here's the thing with my brain. I will continue driving and I will go to the office because if I was to stop and spend that hour on disc golf, my brain would ask myself, okay, what was that? How could that hour have been used better? Either one, researching and being better and learning and growing in course relevant things. How could that have been better doing more research for my current clients and finding them better homes? How could that have been better about doing more ideas and research over content and finding new homes and open houses? And don't even get me started because I could go down this rabbit hole of all of these things that go into being a real estate agent, right? But now here's the thing, on the opposite side, there are other real estate agents that conquer and master so many things. There are some agents currently right now that social media is their number one way, 85% and plus, that they're getting their clients from. There are some that are still sending out mailers and still getting people on an every weekly basis. There's other people who are doing it all virtually. They're having virtual open houses and still having people being able to see these houses without physically being there, but being able to actually purchase them and go through the entire home buying process just because they saw a video on YouTube or just because they got that mailer. So when it comes to being a real estate agent, you can choose whichever avenue you like, but they do say to have pillars. So usually you want to keep it to 3 or less. Usually they say one thing, you hit it hard, and the other 2 you're usually constantly working on to get better. But 3 main pillars of this is how I'm going to advertise myself and make sure that not only my current clients, but any futuristic clients or anybody out there knows exactly what I'm doing for them, how I'm helping them, how I'm getting these houses out to the public, and what advertising is. Now, I will admit, I'm going to let you know right now, if you are not a people person, please, 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 please. I'm not going to say that this job is not for you. I believe anybody can change, anybody can grow, and anybody can fit a role that they need to. I truly believe in that. But if you are an antisocial bug, now here's the thing. I have introvert tendencies. I really do. I'm an extrovert in bright daylight. I truly am, but there's some moments, don't get me wrong, I go and I literally cocoon on the couch and I just die and I rot on that couch. Everybody needs to do it every now and again. I completely understand that. But for the most part, my job is based on conversations. My job is based on meeting people and having that. Because here's the thing, right now, if you were my client and an inspection went wrong, you need someone who obviously can either go in there and fix it. Let's say you have a septic tank issue. Well, I hope I know a good plumber and all that other stuff, or an electrician, or I hope I even know a good home inspector that I could recommend, because I'm never going to force you into anything, because that's not how any of this works. But I would want to know all of these people so that if you had problems within so many little minutes, I could get a hold of them, try to find it, figure it out, and if I can't solve the problem, I'm going to figure out someone who can solve your problem, right? So with that being said, you have to be able to talk to people. You have to be able to go out and do these things, and I've seen a couple people who have even admitted that they're very antisocial and a lot of things they don't like doing. And the problem with that is you're missing out on those convos. You're missing out on those connections. You're missing out on that, which isn't a bad thing because anybody can do real estate if they put their mind to it. But think of how many conversations you missed out on and how many families you weren't able to help because of those. So highly recommend, please don't make this sound like literally, my motto is keep it real, so I'm literally trying to keep it as real as I can with you. Anybody can do this. You can. Even if you have introverted tendencies, but you have to be willing to overcome those and step out of that shell and that little radius and be able to go out and meet anybody and have those conversations. So there's that. Secondly, I also want to talk about some crazy houses I've been in. So number one, coming from Texas to Idaho is a major difference. First and foremost, they have basements up here. So if you're an Idahoan, or honestly anybody up north, you're probably like, yeah, everyone and their mama has a basement. That's not normal in the South. Just saying. Or actually, I don't even know if it's a South thing. I'm just going to mention Tornado Alley. So this is the best comparison I have. When someone from Idaho tells me about a basement and the face I give them, I tell them right back, we had storm cellars. And they give me the exact same facial expression back. And it's truly because we had tornadoes. If anything, like knock on wood, I'm so very grateful. And no one was honestly hurt from this. It was awesome. We had enough time and security. But the year that I left, Texas, like in my hometown, we had a tornado in Temple, Texas. It was crazy. Like I said, so grateful that everyone's okay. But that is a common scene. Like that is common in parts of Texas. Now, for all my Texans on here, if you're listening, for Idahoans, I've done the research and I've asked a lot of people. I'm like, why are basements so heavily produced up here? Number one, because of the cold. It gets extreme cold, and all of my Texans down here will know this. Pipes are an issue when it comes to the cold. We found this out in 2021 where we had the biggest freeze ever Texas has seen, and all of our pipes busted. People didn't have water heaters. I mean, I hate to say this is really harsh, but people died in their homes in Texas. It was very catastrophic for us. But that's because we built different. We have 9 months of summer. Why would we ever have this? Now, for the opposite, Idahoan wise, they have to dig and go at least 4 foot deep for those pipes to prevent any of that busting, right? It's just for like heat, everything else, it has to go 4 feet down. So most builders, if their pipes are going all the 4 foot down, the simple question is, well, what's the average height of a human? Okay, well, why don't we just dig that extra 2 to 3 foot since we're already halfway down? And we put all of this extra, because in other words, I hate to say this, but to my Texans out there, I apologize, Idahoans, because y'all know this, but my Texans out there, they take the exact same house and they just put a second one downstairs. I've seen basements have 2-3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms guaranteed and a big living room. A lot of basements are literally used for like either game rooms or I've seen so many projectors, second living rooms. I mean, you name it. I've seen, it's so very, very cool. But they literally take the exact same thing of a house, all the pipes that go down, and they build like a second house. And that's what they call a basement up here. And in Texas, all of my Idahoans up here, storm cellars, there's a lot of different ones. Some of them will start on the outside and actually go to the basement of a house. If you've ever seen the movie Matilda, shout out, sorry, ADHD moment. So many good moments with that movie. But that is an example of one, so it gets you kind of deeper into the house and stuff like that. Secondly, I used to live in a tiny little town where my mom grew up. It's called Millshoe, Texas. And a property that we lived at, it was probably about 20 foot from the house. And it straight up, it was just like this little triangle thing. I wouldn't say it's a triangle. I don't even know. I'm not your geometry teacher. I do science. But there was one of those, and it had 2 big doors, kind of similar to like the one I was describing in Matilda. But you'd walk down in there, and don't get me wrong, after the staircase, every storm cellar was kind of different. A lot of us used it for like storage, like cans and all that. But then oh my goodness, it's kind of like a storm cellar is what are those bunkers? Yes, they just don't go incredibly as deep bunkers, like radiation versus high speed wind or kind of different on the level of how deep you need to get into the ground. So yeah, there's that. Fun fact, if you didn't know this, science fun fact, the Earth is actually currently, as you are standing on it right now, is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour in that rotation while we revolve around the sun, just so you know. So in other words, if you want to watch another video on YouTube, it's called What If? It's what if the world stopped spinning? What's 1,000 miles per hour? What happens when you're running 100 miles per hour? And then you come to a complete stop, seatbelt wise, your body keeps... Anyway, science, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but it's crazy. There's your fun fact for the day. Okay, so with that being said, I believe this podcast has hit that point that I probably talked a little bit too much. I hope not only you enjoyed some of the real estate tips that I gave you, but I hope you learned a little something about basements, tornadoes, and storm cellars, and all of that great stuff, and the fact that the Earth spins at 1,000 miles per hour. Because that is Winter Wonders, and you just, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your patience and you just listening. So big shout out to everyone who made it to the second episode. I'm so excited for the third one. Our third one is actually Wandering in Idaho. So if you are someone who is very interested in Idaho, or honestly just want to hear about this hidden gem, I'm telling you, it's the prettiest thing I've ever seen with my entire eyes, other than Kaylee, of course. Idaho is a secret hidden gem. If anything, you can ask any Idahoan, they'll tell you not to move here just because they do not want to give up how amazing this state is. So that is the next episode. I hope you're super excited just as much as I am, and I can't wait to see you till next week. So with that being said, second outro, second time doing this, we're going to go ahead. Until then, I hope you stay warm, stay curious, and I hope you keep looking for those little wonders in your own life. Remember, I'm Winter. Have a great rest of your day. See you on the next Winter Wonders. Bye, guys. That was good.